Welcome back, guys, to another episode of the Customer Discover Cast. This is your host, Ethan Halfwide, and this episode is brought to you by CustomerDiscovery.co. I'm here with Sung, and we're going to be doing a deep dive today into Sung, his background, what he's currently working on, because he's always working on stuff that's exciting. I actually met Sung through basically actually initially my For You page on TikTok, which is awesome because it's connecting me with all sorts of great like leaders and whether it's product management or UI UX design. It's always it's awesome to connect with people who are thought leaders in their space, and Sung is certainly that. So Sung, thank you for joining.
Thank you for inviting.
Absolutely. So for those that are out there that have never heard of you before, give them kind of the background, especially if they don't follow you, right? You should be following him on TikTok. By the way, I'll give him multiple chances to plug his TikTok. He's too humble to say it, but go ahead and let people know about a little bit more about you.
Yeah, so I'm a product designer at Amazon. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've had multiple startups that raised millions in funding. And then I'm a traveler. I sold my property and all my stuff 2 years ago now, and started traveling full time to I guess gain more experience in life instead of being stuck in one place, being attached to a property. So yeah, I've been traveling, learning a lot, meeting new people, meeting Ethan. So that's been my life for my that's been my life.
Absolutely. Digital nomad, man. You living the dream. It's awesome. So one thing that really, you kind of you follow people and you pay attention to them, and then some things stick out. I like to keep people in my ecosystem. I can't reach out to everybody at the same time, but I remember the moment that I was like, "Whoa, I really need to like learn more about this guy. He has an amazing story." I saw your TikTok that was a snippet of what I thought was your TED Talk. I think you actually clarified that that was like South by Southwest. You recorded that. It was one of the two. I remember there was a situation where you didn't
Yeah.
record one and something happened, but that's where I wanted to reach out because you actually, not to give any spoilers, I know you were working a job and you weren't happy with what you were making. This was years ago, and you had this idea for a new exciting technology, and you quit your job and you went and you pursued that, and it took you places, right? Talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so back in 2013, I was working at a digital agency, maybe making 85,000 a year. But the project that I was working on was exciting, which was redesigning the Sam's Club mobile shopping app, which is a big deal as a designer that's up and coming. And as I was working on it, I was reviewing the UX wireframes from my fellow UX designer. At the time, I was just UI designer. And what I noticed was that this wireframe for this project that was supposed to be awesome just felt like just any other wireframes that I've seen for any other mobile apps that I've designed in the past. And then that made me think, if you just look at the wireframes, which represent the structure and flow of the digital product you're building, they're pretty much all the same. So it's everything's organized in a list view or a thumbnail view or some variations of those two in a table-based structure. So I was like, there has to be something better. There has to be a better way to organize this large quantity of content. Like when you're talking about Sam's Club, Walmart shopping experience, there are millions of products and categories. So how do we better organize them? So I just started experimenting different options and came up with a concept called organic information structure. And at first, when I first brought it up in the meeting, I couldn't explain myself and it went over people's head and I was frustrated. So I took probably like 2 or 3 months off. I took 2 or 3 months to put my thoughts together in a presentation format after work. And then when I presented it and I submitted a presentation to a TEDx at SMU in Dallas and the South by Southwest, AIGA Design Conference, and some other places. And it got accepted everywhere. And I,
That's exciting and nerve wracking, by the way. I'm
yeah,
sure you were like,
that
"Oh,
was
this is
exciting and
huge."
terrifying because
Yeah.
Because at that point I had never spoken publicly on a stage anywhere ever in my life. The most speaking experience I had was like doing conference calls with the clients over the phone, or like when I was presenting back in school. I still remember my first time. I was so nervous. I was holding onto the teacher's desk and I was shaking so bad. I was shaking the entire teacher's desk. Like I was nervous, right? So to present in front of people on stage was terrifying. But I felt like I knew that I had to do that if I want something better in my life. So I memorized the whole presentation. I practiced it, just so to the point I can, recite it back and forth. But the first time I did it, it was at the TEDx uh, at SMU. It was a audition. So there were 120 people in the audience. I invited my family, my grandma, my parents, and my brother, and at the time my wife, to the event. And the projector failed, and I froze, and I and then they tried to fix it. So I was on the stage for like 4 minutes trying to just keep the audience entertained and make spit jokes, kind of going through this awkward moment. And they said I fixed it, but they couldn't fix it. So I tried to just do the presentation without the slides, and I couldn't do it because I was trying to explain a visual represent a new way to display data. And how am I supposed to do that verbally and make people understand what that means when they've never seen something like this before? So after a minute into presenting without slides, I realized I just couldn't do it. So I walked off the stage, and that was one of the most embarrassing moments in my life. And you can touch on this later, but that experience gave me one of the valuable lessons in my life that I still live by today. And and then I took that as a lesson. And I went when I went to South by Southwest presentation in March 2014. I was put in a room with 800 people. It was the conference room at the Four Seasons Hotel, one of the biggest rooms they had, and they put me there. And I didn't know this until I got there. I literally walked into the room, and the room said occupancy 800 people. And
Wow.
it was a people were sitting down, all seats were filled, and there were people standing in the back. And I pulled it off. Like no stuttering, no fuck ups, slides worked, everything was on time. That felt glorious, but I didn't record the session because I thought I was gonna fuck it up like the South by South, the TEDx. So I didn't want to leave any evidence of me fucking it up. So I didn't record it, which is regrettable. But I had an opportunity to do a different version of that presentation a couple of years ago to Amazon designers at Amazon Design Conference. So I was able to record that one, and I shared it on TikTok and Instagram before.
Yeah. No, and weren't you received some kind of award? I keep telling people, one, plug your TikTok right now. What is it? It's Broken Unicorn. Is it 16
Broken
or
Unicorn 16. Yeah,
16? Yeah.
so yeah, because I tried to do Broken Unicorn, but it was already taken, so I just went with my birth date. So Broken Unicorn 16. That's
Yeah, but
that's
I was
my
gonna say you received an
yeah.
award. It was like top 50 designers in the country or something like that. What was that?
Yeah, it was 2013, I think. Basically, Business Insider did a ranking of top designers in tech, and I was ranked 51st out of 75.
Wow.
Um,
That's
so
awesome.
here's
Just
the
to be named on the list is incredible, just be on their
so,
radar.
so here's the deal. Like, when when a friend of mine sent me an article that said Business Insider was looking for designers in tech, like the top designer candidate. I didn't think I qualified, so I mean I was like, why did you send this to me? And he's like, you should submit your resume. I was like, no, never mind, I don't do that. And then And he insisted, so I gave him my resume. He submitted it to the Business Insider, and he had no ties to Business Insider, or he didn't have any influence. He just submitted it as one of the um, normal people. And a couple of months later, the article came out, and I was ranked 51st, and I was blown away because the 50th person on the list was a lady who designed Google Glasses, and then number one was basically Johnny Ives at Apple, who designed Apple.
What? No shot. It was Johnny Ives.
Yeah.
Man,
So
yeah, he's the most underrated person at Apple. I feel like I read Walter Isaacson's Steve Jobs biography,
yeah,
and they talk about how close, like Steve Jobs loved Johnny Ives. For those of you that don't know, by the way, Steve Jobs loved Johnny Ives. He credits almost like most of his success at Apple with his teams to Johnny Ives. He's like, if anyone were to take my spot, Johnny Ives should be that guy. And I want to say, I know he stayed there, of course, after Steve Jobs. I don't know. I think he left Apple. I'm not sure.
he left.
He
He
left.
left to go to start his own design agency. I don't think Johnny Ives and the Tim Cook mixed together. Tim Cook is a great manager. He can take a great product and maintain it until it dies out, but he cannot innovate because he cannot see. He doesn't have the imagination or gut to follow through the the downside of chasing something that has not existed before. He can only do something if something has already existed.
Right. Yeah. I have a
But
ton to
Johnny
say.
Ives,
Yeah.
yeah. Johnny Ives is a risk taker, and like he would come up with crazy designs and ideas. And Steve Jobs is basically like just like what he did with the Wozniak. Like Wozniak was building something that he thought was just, and then he took it and made it Apple.
Mhm.
And then Apple, Steve Jobs did the same thing with Johnny Ives. He saw something from what he built and then made it into great products.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And we won't go down that rabbit hole because trust me, I can't go down that rabbit hole saying, Apple has kind of lost that spark, in my opinion. I still love them.
Yeah,
I'll buy whatever they have to sell, but that soul that represented the 1980s and the 1990s with Apple that really inspired millions of people and honestly and heavily influenced the tech industry to kind of blow up because so many people were called to action from there, invent the future, be the risk takers, the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels. But that's kind of died off, hasn't it? And that comes with being a bigger company. But what are your thoughts there?
yeah. Bigger companies cannot move fast. Um, Even in Amazon, out of all the big corporations, Amazon still in a way operates like a startup, and there is a startup spirit. Even the leadership principles, um, it's basically based on it encourages people to operate as a startup. But as a Amazonian employee, I can assure you that it does not work like a startup, especially in the retail realm, because retail is the cash cow of the entire business. So right now, AWS is the most profitable, but retail is still bringing in the most revenue. And even though the leadership says that they want to innovate, they either do not recognize innovation or don't want to fuck up what's working.
Right.
So they would not do anything unless its business model is already proven. So here is the one of the I'm not getting trouble for saying this, but one of the directors that I presented an idea to, he turned it down because he didn't want to build a new product. He wanted to just be a platform where the sellers um, where the sellers on this platform compete with each other and race to the bottom of the barrel in terms of pricing.
Was it the red ocean strategy? That's the opposite of what you want, right?
That's not how startup works. That's not
Right.
how innovation works. But for a director to say that in a meeting when a new idea is being pitched, uh,
It's scary.
yeah, I mean
Yeah.
he like yeah, it just I mean
If that's leadership, that mindset is woven into every decision from then on. So that's kind of
yeah,
rough if you think
yeah.
about it. Yeah, but like piggybacking on that, um, talking about kind of that mindset, and I personally know because we've spoken before that you have the opposite of that, and that's kind of led to what you do in your free time as well, because you are a designer by day, well, a designer by night as well, and on the weekends, I'm sure. But talk about what you currently what you currently have going on with your agency. I know you just had an acquisition, and that actually influenced us because we just created our prototype, and I actually did it with your acquisition in mind. We used the case study example to help you better understand the prototype, and which we walk investors through. Just because we went with the analogy of the Uber Eats for coffee, not to spoil anything, but like talk
Yeah.
more about that.
So I have a couple of consulting agencies on the side, and one of them actually we have at one of the consulting agencies I'm part of. There are four partners. I'm the design person, and there is a finance person, there's a business person, there's an engineering person,
Hmm.
and we pulled our money together and acquired this product called Coffee Pass. It's like if you ever purchase a Starbucks coffee on a Starbucks app, mobile app, that's what it is. You can order ahead on your you can place a order in advance on Coffee Pass app. Um, well, let me rephrase that. You can order ahead on our Coffee Pass app to pick up your favorite coffee at your favorite coffee shop instead of being limited to using Starbucks app and picking up Starbucks coffee at the Starbucks location. So basically, this app can onboard any coffee shops and allows you to order ahead your coffee from your favorite coffee shops. Currently, we have about 46. I feel like I stumbled on that one. Can you cut this one out?
No, it's
uh,
okay.
yeah. Yeah. So basically, so four of us at this consulting agency acquired this app called Coffee Pass, and it's like a Starbucks app. So on Starbucks app, you can order Starbucks at a nearby Starbucks location, and you just go there and pick it up without standing in line. It's the same concept. You can do that with any of your favorite coffee shops in your area. So download the Coffee Pass app, order from your favorite coffee shop. You go to the coffee shop and you just pick it up without waiting in line. So currently we have about 46 coffee shops mostly on the East Coast. And then to more coffee shops, as well as we're pivoting the business model. So instead of just taking cents and dollars off each transactions, we want to take a bigger chunk. And I can't reveal the strategy yet, but the new product, the new feature is coming up in Orlando, Florida. We recently partnered with one of the hottest bar slash coffee shop in the area called the Robinson Room. And we made an announcement about this new feature in partnership with the Robinson Room. And even before the launch, we're launching it in 2 weeks, but even before the launch, so far 160 people have signed up to be part of that.
Say,
So
how many?
it's 160 people.
Wow, awesome, man.
Yeah,
That's
even
that's a
before
great
launch.
beta
Yeah,
list.
yeah.
Yeah. That's not easy to do. That's often the hardest thing to do. Convince people to take action on something that one your app already exists, but before they even, they can see it, touch it, feel it, experience the user journey, getting them to commit to it just based on value proposition and either, a white paper pitch or, a verbal pitch. So congrats on that. That's a lot of industry experience that's definitely paid into that, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's as you know, when you're running a startup, you have limited resources and you don't have the money or manpower to pursue um, investigating every potential leads or do the research to make sure the path you're choosing is the right path. Sometimes there's a lot of gut feelings involved, and um, speed is the most important thing, most important strength you have as a startup, because that's one thing that bigger corporations do not have, moving fast. So if you lose speed as a startup, you can't compete with other bigger companies. So to keep that speed up, you have to sometimes make instant decisions based on gut feelings and based on certain indicators. And sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. Usually it gets better with more experience as you tackle more problems and solve more problems and build more businesses and see more use cases and learn from mistakes. Your gut feeling actually gets better, but it's still a gut feeling. There's no numbers to prove, and it's a nerve-wracking experience when you have to put money where your mouth is without having like 100% proven business model. And sometimes that's what you have to do, and that's what separates us from 9 to 5 people.
Taking risks. Yeah.
Yeah.
And one thing that's always interesting, and I'd love to talk to you more about this, and we've touched on it as well. How you can spur yourself to action and do things that you otherwise couldn't do. Remember when you mentioned you were locked away in the bathroom and you were writing stuff. Yeah, I want you to explain it, because that's super impressive. But it's like, that's the difference between, people always say I'm stressed out, I'm overworked at work, and maybe they are, but also it's probably just because what they're working on as well isn't personal to them. There's no like passion that spark that comes from working on something that you really care about. It's your own baby that you're trying to grow. When it's something for a bigger company, it kind of loses its personal touch once it's sent off to your boss or your superior. So talk about how, when you did take that leap and how that spurred you to action to do things you otherwise probably would have never done.
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, when I quit my job to pursue this passion project called organic information structure, I really didn't plan it right in a way, but that's the reason why it worked. Because at the time when I quit my job, I had no idea what kind of effort or money it would take to build a digital product and how long it would take. All I had was $8,000 in my bank account. That's it. And I just quit my job. So I ended up having to sell my car, moving to my parents' house, work 120 hours a week, 120 hours a week, and a bunch of contract jobs, and then raise $10,000 from a Kickstarter campaign to basically fund this passion project. And I, in the first year, I put in about $100,000 into development. Just keep in mind, before I quit my job, the most I had ever made from a job was $85,000 a year. That's the most I had ever made. But somehow I managed to take on contract jobs. Somehow I found them and get paid for it to be able to pay for $100,000 worth of engineering time and make enough to, survive, paying for food and giving my mom rent and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So if I actually planned this right and calculated all the risks on the paper, there is no way I could have thought I could ever make more than 100,000 a year, because I never made more than 85,000 a year. So I was like, how am I supposed to make more than that on my own without the help of the agency? I didn't think it was possible. So if I actually planned this, I would have been actually discouraged and just given up. But I was stupid and didn't plan it, and I just took a leap of faith. And once I took the leap of faith, there's no turning back. I had to survive, and literally, without cliche, failure was not an option. My parents do not have savings account. I didn't have a savings account. They depend on me, and I'm their retirement plan. I cannot fail. All my decisions up until then was choosing my career, choosing my school to major to my career path. It was financially driven to be able to make enough money to support my family. So when I took the leap of faith, I still had to make money. So I was in a survival mode, and I was willing to do whatever it takes to make it, and I just found a way to do it. And apparently I was a lot more capable than I thought I was. And that's the message I want to give to all the entrepreneurs. Just because you're a designer, don't think that oh, I, I'm just a designer. I can't do numbers. I can't come up with a financial table for my business model. Oh, I'm just an engineer. Like, I'm not good with the UX experience. Like, you should just figure it out and just tell me what to do. Like all the business people are saying, oh, I'm just a biz dev person. You know, it's like you should handle all the UX design stuff. I don't want any like I'm not good at it. You can't say that. Like if you're an entrepreneur, if you have a passion to build something, if you want to do it, don't depend on other people to do it for you, and also believe that you can do it. Just don't wait for other people to do it for you. Find a way to do it yourself if you can't find help, and don't make that excuse, because I can tell you from my personal experience that you're a lot more capable than you think you are.
Absolutely. Yeah. And man, that's you touched it right on the head. If you're gonna build anything, you're gonna it's kind of like a system of like hiring yourself to do a role within your company so that you could fire yourself and train other people how to fulfill that role. You know what I mean? But you have
Yeah.
to get that experience first before you can fire yourself.
Let me give you a more extreme example. So, you know, when I quit my job, I was just a UI designer. UI design is the only thing I did. But from there, I managed to learn how to do UX. I went into doing business strategy, and I learned how to do product management. So that's all just technical skills. But I even went into legal, meaning I had to write a patent. But every lawyer I talked to, they're going to charge me like almost $500,000 to file this patent, write the patent, and file it. And I couldn't afford it. Like no matter how much I worked, there's no way I could afford that much money. So I just bit the bullet. I did the research, and I found this one patent from Facebook, uh, and I read it. It's a long documentation. I read it. I'm not a lawyer. I didn't have legal training, but it was painful reading it, because there's so many run-on sentences, and sentences don't that repeat all the time. It's anyway. Take your time to find yourself like a patent somewhere, a software patent, and try to read it. It's gonna drive you insane. Um, but I did it, and then I realized that sentence structure of that patent, uh, I could see how it could work for my scenario, my product. So I took that as a template. I started writing my own patent on my own, and it took me a month of literally isolating myself. When you're writing a patent, you have to write it in a way. Everything has to be consistent. You cannot miss a period, comma, or you cannot use a slightly different word. If you use one word here in the beginning of the document to describe it, and then if your document is 70 pages long, you have to use the same word and phrase across the entire documentation. And if you use different phrase,
Wow.
if you use different grammar, comma, or a slightly different word to describe the patent, it's not valid. So you have to literally like be able to see the entire document in your head as you're writing it, and it's insane. And
Yeah.
so I need a complete focus to do that. So I was living with my parents at the time, and there was no privacy, and I couldn't focus. There's always constant noise. There are dogs in the house, and I resorted to going to a coffee shop and just like listening, just with noise cancellation headset, just isolating myself. Because at coffee shop, at least nobody bothers me. Nobody knocks on the door asking me questions or asking me to do chores and stuff.
Right,
So I
right.
went to the coffee shop, and then I from the headset, and I just did it. And then sometimes it's so noisy and you get distracted. So I found myself basically locking myself in the bathroom, and then I wrapped my legs around the toilet, and then used a toilet seat as a desk, and I just typed
Started
away.
going.
The
Yeah.
half the pattern was written on the toilet seat. And basically it was a 70-page long pattern. It took me a month, literally 100 plus drafts and 3 complete rewrites. I would finish the entire 70-page long document. Like I was like, that's good. And then next day I'll read it again. I'm like, oh, fuck. And I realized there's no way to like just fix one thing. So I scrapped everything. So I just rewrite the entire thing 3 times over.
Yeah.
So
Jeez.
at the end of the day, I submitted the document to my patent attorney, and at first he was offended. Because he thought that uh, I hired a cheaper some other patent attorney to do it for me because he said, well, this is after I told him that I did it. This is how he put it. Well, this is better than some of the work that my associate has done before. So
Yeah.
yeah, so it was a compliment. So it was to a point he thought I hired somebody else to write it for me. So trust me when I tell you this, you are a lot more capable than you think you are. And you might think that I did it because somehow I managed to do it because I'm somehow smarter. But I guarantee you, I'm not any smart. My IQ is not any higher than average. So I'm telling you.
Well, man, I mean, that's such a testament to like, I fully believe like passion it rivals the greatest drugs in the world that people take. You know, they talk about, you know, how shrooms and acid gives them this unique point, you know, viewpoint on life. And I've never tried those things, so I don't know. But when it comes to passion and when it hits you, it really does take you into some kind of, you know, just alternate view on the world. Like you feel like things that you once thought were impossible and beyond your capabilities, and you put yourself in this box. You kind of break down all those imaginary walls and you see further, right? You
Yeah,
see like, okay, you know, if I were to write this 70-page patent, you would have never broken things down this way. I'm summarizing what you said basically. Like if I were to write this patent, I would need to understand the sentence structure, understand how to make it consistent over 70 pages, not 770. And I have to use consistent language, and you know, it has to be very relevant to the technology that I'm creating. If you were working for a job and they asked you to write a 70-page pattern or 70-page patent, you would say, I'm out of here. There's no shot that I'm going to do that, probably regardless of the bonus or anything like that. You're like, no shot. Why would I? I don't want to spend an X amount of hours doing that. I'm not going to lock myself in my bathroom doing that. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So, and I'm sure you were super relieved when you were done with that patent. Doo-doo, get it? You were on the toilet.
yeah, yeah,
I'm the king of the dad jokes, but no, I mean stuff like that really gets me excited because it's like when people say like, you know, you should take a break. You know, what are you doing? It's like that's the only time I'll ever feel tired. You know, if I do take a break, because I'm like, I'm not getting that buzz. I'm not getting that hit of dopamine that I get when I'm creating something or trying something new for the first time. That you know, something ambiguous you have to break down. So yeah, it's exciting.
yeah. So it gets harder as you get older. As you get older, obviously, like energy level goes down. As you get older, you get other responsibilities, and it's so if you're still under 30. When I did this, when I was 27. So
Same age as me.
yeah, yeah. So if you're under 30, definitely you should take a step, stepping out of your comfort zone, working 9 to 5 job and pursue something that's beyond your nor- what you thought was your boundary, and
Yeah.
it'll change your life.
Absolutely, man. I mean, I wholeheartedly agree, and what you've shared so far has been it's really resonated with the audience for sure. It's resonated with me. It's got me fired up on a Sunday night. But yeah, man, and like before we do kind of the outro and everything, is there anything else you'd like to share with the listeners? Any kind of words of wisdom moving forward?
um, I think it's the same thing. It's that know that you're a lot more capable than you think you are, especially when you're pursuing something of passion. You will find the drive in you to make that work. And the presentation that you saw online probably was title was uh, vision, drive, and open mind. So I'll touch on that quickly. Um, those are the three things that I see as a requirement for you to pursue entrepreneurship. You have to have a big vision. You have to have a grand vision that compels you to take a leap of faith, and you have to have a drive that will make you get up in the morning after a series of failures because you still want to make it work. Um, and you have to have a open mind. One thing you'll find is that you might have started down on a path because you believe that was the right way. But then when you, in your mind, when you believe that that's the only possible way, one only possible path, and when you run into a roadblock, it'll discourage you to the point it's gonna make you feel hopeless. Because when you believe that's the only true path to get to where you are, what other options are there, right? So you
Right.
have to keep an open mind. So you have to believe that there's always a way around. So you need to be able to have an open mind that allows you to seek out other opportunities along the path you're on, and be able to pivot as needed. And sometimes you'll find that it's not the path that you started with is the right path, but eventually that's just the starting point that gets you to the right path and the destination you want to get to.
Absolutely. Yeah. And just so I understood correctly, that was vision, passion, and
Uh,
open mind.
vision, drive, vision, drive, and open mind.
Vision, drive, and open mind. Man, great words of wisdom. As always, it's a pleasure speaking with you. And, before I let you go, tell the audience what are the best ways to reach you?
You can reach out to me on Instagram or TikTok, Broken Unicorn 16. Just leave me a comment on a video or to message me, and I'll try to respond as quickly as I can.
Awesome. I love it when you have when the questions, I saw one where it was, or UX, and you were like, they basically can't exist without each other. And it's great to see you kind of, keep that kind of open source atmosphere to where you're sharing your thoughts and your experience. So keep that up, man. I'm sure a lot of audience members will find value in connecting with you directly and having you answer their questions. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope to do this again, by the way. I know by the end of 2021, you will probably have a lot more success stories to share with us as well. So thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to talking to you next time. Okay.
Thank you.